What's up?
What's up, brother? How you doing?
I'm doing pretty good.
It's interesting that you do a lot of these interviews. I always feel like pro wrestlers or athletes don't really want to do these things, but I guess now you have so much time, right?
I don't understand why we wouldn't. Like, number one, it gets the brand out there. And
Right.
then number two, I mean, you're helping somebody out that has been in your place before, that's just trying to make it. And then number three, you might be reaching a new audience that you haven't reached before. So I don't know. I know a lot of my friends don't like to do it. I don't know why, but I don't mind doing them.
So, dude, we're not too far off from the four-way you had at Rebellion Part
Yeah.
Two. I wanted to get into how you feel about wrestling in front of the crowd and whatnot, but there was a lot of buzz online about that match, but you in particular. Chris Bate won the match, but you were one of the
Yeah.
standout performers in that thing. How'd you feel about it?
I really liked it. Man, at first it's weird because there's no crowd, there's no adrenaline,
Right.
and you're going out there and it feels kind of weird. And then you take that first bump or you get hit for the first time and you're just like, oh man, what are we doing? And then after a while you start cooking and it's business as usual. So instead of playing to the crowd, you're trying to find the camera at all times instead of crowd camera, crowd camera. It's okay, I'm going to play to the people at home and really work on who the character is and get them involved. And I saw my name popping up a few times and it makes me feel good because I do feel like I am one of the most underrated guys on the roster. My style is not like super flashy and I'm a throwback. I like to, you know, a lot of character work and some cool stuff in the ring. But it was cool to see that. It's always good to see your hard work getting noticed.
So, what do you think? I don't want to say holding you back because maybe you haven't been held back, but what's one thing that you haven't been able to do at Impact that you think would take you to the next level?
Um, what I think that's going to happen is promos, and that's I've always been in a group aspect. When I first got here, I was Hakeem Zayn. I was by myself, but I was, out of my element. I was so nervous. I didn't have the confidence that I do now, and it showed. And it's improving a lot. And then with the Hit Squad, it was, well, how do I stand out from everybody else? We're representing this very traditional Indian um, culture, and that's what we kind of want the group to be. And I'm like kind of both. I'm in between. I'm like I can represent that, but that's not. I'm very, I guess, intense and stuff. And how do I bring that intensity and I guess that mischievous nature to the group? And so I was like the black sheep. So I was always trying to figure out who Rohit is or was, and I'm actually still kind of trying to figure that out. But I do have some cool stuff coming up promo wise. I never had a chance to speak, and if you ever see my promos, I'm not gonna, it may sound egotistical, but they're really good. I think they're better than a lot of people, and I think my promos will open up a lot of eyes. That was one thing too. It made me so mad. Like, I don't, my name, not that I know of, ever gets in dirt sheets. And I did a AMA on Reddit, and someone asked me a question about, were there any, I actually read the question wrong. I thought it said, were there any stories that you guys pitched that got shot down? And I pitched a more serious Desi Hit Squad.
Mhm.
And I gave an answer. And all of a sudden, my buddy tagged me, and it was like, Rohit is unhappy at Impact. And then another one said, Rohit is getting held back at Impact. I was like, wait a minute. I didn't say that at all. You guys are going to get me in trouble, man. Like, that's like, no, I'm very excited with where I'm going. I wasn't excited with where I was, but I figured the hard work would pay off. And, I have my frustrations just like anybody that wants to rise in the ladder. So I'm hoping that's the case. I'm hoping, they're giving me an opportunity, and I hope the creative sees that, oh, Rohit's going to smash this opportunity. Let's give him more. So that is what I think. This is my breaking point, and I'm hoping that it responds well to people, whether they hate it or they love it. I hope there's a response to it, and it's not ignored. So then I know I'm doing something right.
So, would you rather lean towards the more serious side or the more serious pro wrestler or the comical side or maybe a mixture of both?
Probably a mixture of both in the end. Right now, as far as impact, I want to do the serious stuff. I've been getting slapped by Gamma for, almost 3 years.
So, dude, I have to say that is. I was gonna ask you about that. That's one of the funniest things when he slaps you, and I'm like, man, he's actually like full blown slapping you
Yeah.
across the face.
Yeah. Gamma is, man. Gamma's not holding back. He's jacking my jaw. And then the funny thing is, They'll be like, oh, we got to do it again. I'm like, oh my God, are you serious?
Yeah.
And that's cool. And you know what? It is entertaining because everyone always says that. They say, I really love when Gamma slaps you. But sooner or later, it has to have a payoff. You know what I
Right.
mean? It has to, I can't just keep getting slapped and like, that makes me look like an idiot. And there has to be a payoff. Something, and there was a promotion in Chicago called AAW where they did the same thing. I was wrestling and I wasn't really relating to the crowd. And he's like, what are we going to do so you can relate to the crowd? You're really good. You look great. You have everything that it takes, but the crowd just isn't into you. And I said, give me a microphone. And then we did this whole thing where I put on this mask and I cut these very cryptic promos. Yeah, and everyone thought it was like, they thought it was Eli Drake. They thought it was Killer Cross. They thought it was Austin Aries. They thought it was this really big name. And then when it was me, they were like, oh, they were disappointed. And then I cut this promo this is what I want to do at Impact now. It is real because it's my frustrations, my bitterness, my anger. It's all of the things that upset me. And I guess you could say I've like things that maybe I do feel hold me back that I don't get a chance to do. And I put that in those promos and then it took off. And then next thing you know, I was getting the attention and I don't want to say the respect, but the recognition that I thought I deserved. It's still not there, in my opinion, because I'm always going to work hard to be at the top and I want to get there. But I think that helped. So I think if Impact, if I get the chance and when I start doing that here, I think that'll make a difference. And that's all I want is my chance because I feel like you give me the ball, I'm going to run with it. So
I always hear that the best wrestlers are themselves, but turned up to 10, turned up to 11. Is that who Hakeem Zayn is?
yes, that is.
Is that the biggest difference between him and Rohit?
I tried to do a little bit more me with Rohit and just because if I'm trying to be funny, I'll be funny. And me coming out there, like sauntering to the ring and trying to strut and stuff like that and making the faces behind Gama's back. I mean, that's me too. But the driving force and the passion is my intensity and that anger and being a hothead. And that is me turned up to, 10, 15. And so, yeah, I think that is, and also I think that will set the goofiness apart because then you look like a contender, then you're serious. And I believe what I'm saying because it is real to me. Mm-hmm. It is real. A lot of the things I say, I cut this promo that people will see. I say something about, I've been here for 3 years and I don't even have a t-shirt. That's real. I want a t-shirt. I've been here for 3 years. I deserve a damn t-shirt. I see all these other people coming here and they get a t-shirt right off the bat. I've been here 3 years. No Desi Hit Squad t-shirts. No Rohit Raju t-shirts. And so I say that in this promo and that's real. You know what I mean? And so, yeah, that is kind of the difference. And it is those, I always try to be professional. So I'm not going to go backstage and be like, where the hell's my t-shirt? Yeah. But if I get a chance to say it on the mic and stuff, then yeah, I mean, that's a frustration of mine. And I get to vent using that. So I want to do that at Impact, have that chip on my shoulder because that's real. And that's a passion that I think will convey. It's like Hard Times, man. Mm-hmm. You felt what Dusty was saying. And I really believe like you'll feel what I'm saying if given the chance.
I was just about to say that. You always hear about pro wrestlers having frustrations backstage, I guess, before they break out or before certain wrestlers break out. And they voice those frustrations in the ring, as their character. But it's real, but you're also, putting on that show as an entertainer. And sometimes that's what takes, I guess, certain wrestlers to the next level. Dusty Rhodes, Stone Cold Steve Austin is one that pops up as well.
When I was doing the AAW promos, my inspiration was Steve Austin when he was in ECW. Right. And he was cutting those promos after he got fired. And it was like that very guerrilla style, you know what I mean? And it was because he was great. Austin was great back then, as Stunning Steve. And he never got the recognition until he started cutting those promos. He went to WWE, did the Ringmaster thing. That didn't take off. Then finally, he was Stone Cold Steve Austin, which was him. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. And that's what I feel like. And I just, that's what I want to morph into. And you don't have to change the name back to Hakeem Zayn or nothing like that. I could still be Rohit Raju and just do a little bit more of that seriousness, that chip on the shoulder. And I think that's the direction we might be moving towards. We'll see. I just want people to tune in and see where it's going because some of the stuff that's coming up, I was very excited for and very proud of. So.
When you were first approached, I guess, to do Rohit Raju or the Desi Hit Squad thing, was that difficult for you to take over the stereotypical Indian wrestler?
It was. I remember talking to Scott Demore about it, and I vented my frustrations and worries about it because I really felt like, oh, okay, we want an Indian group, so it's going to be copy paste. You know what I mean? We're going to be the typical Indian bad guys, evil foreigners, and I was like, I don't want to do that. I don't mind. In my opinion, you don't look at Rey Mysterio and say, oh, he's a great Latino wrestler, he's a great Mexican wrestler. You don't say that. You say he's a great wrestler that represents Mexico. And that's if, you want me to represent India, cool, let me do that. Let me be a great wrestler that represents India. So I didn't want to do it. And, I talked to Scott and he's like, you just got to make it your own. He goes, we're not telling you have to go out there and do this, that, and the other. We want you to have a certain look and stuff. We want you to do maybe a few things, but you still have to make it your own. And I didn't know how to make it my own. I was still trying to do it. And it was Dave Christ and Johnny Bravo that would see me at indie shows, and they would say, why don't you're not having fun out there at Impact. You're here, you're having fun. And I would tell them, I don't know who Rohit is. And they would say, it's you. Just take that and do it. And so I just started, and I think it was a show in Windsor. And that's when I just started strutting through the ring and just being me. And it got over, and people in the back were saying, oh, I see more confidence in you, and I see a change, and now you found your lane and stuff like that. And so I try to incorporate that. But yeah, at first, man, I didn't want to do it because I didn't want to be generic Indian wrestler number 37, and that's what I thought that I would be. And I've been really trying hard to represent the culture, but also still be me and be on my own path, because that's why I got into wrestling. I want to be on my own path and be my own person. So it's hard, but I think I'm kind of getting the hang of it.
When it comes to playing, I guess, that character and coming out as a Desi Hit Squad, I've been, ringside shooting stuff for Fight Network, and I hear some of the things come from the crowd in terms of racist remarks towards you guys.
Yeah.
How much of that do you have to deal with?
And not to give a sob story, but I've dealt with BS my entire life. You know what I mean? I'm living in Michigan. It's where I live is, pretty much a mixed culture, but I think it's cool. A lot of Japanese wrestlers nowadays, because of how big New Japan is, get accepted. The lucha style of wrestling is kind of what's hot. So a lot of Mexican wrestlers get accepted.
Yeah.
Indian wrestlers, Arabic wrestlers, it's still the same thing. And I'm not saying those guys don't get there, because they still get the crap chanted at them. But we still, man, when I first started wrestling, it was always, hey, you look Arabic. Can you be a terrorist? Hey, can you do this? Can you do that? And it's funny, I actually, way before Cody Rhodes, not saying he took it or nothing, but right, I was doing this gimmick called the American Nightmare Hakeem Zayn, where I would sit there and say, I am an American, but you don't treat me like an American. I'm a better American. I'm a better American than you, because I'm trying to live the American dream, but you won't let me live the American dream, because instantly you hear my name, instantly you see the color of my skin, you instantly try to stereotype me, and you instantly tell me to go home to my own country, yet I'm here. I was born in this country. And then what I wanted to do at Impact, and now that I'm giving some mic time, I wanted to address that. And this was actually the question that the guy that ended up being, oh, Rohit's unhappy at Impact, or he's being held back, which is such stupid stuff. But I wanted to do the thing where, like, yeah, you guys chant Quickie Mart when we come out, but who's the one going to the store buying his 50th Slurpee, and you're giving the money to the man behind the counter who's living the American dream? When you and your snobby girlfriend want to be cultured, where do you go? You go to the Indian restaurant. Who taught you to have better sex with the Kama Sutra? When your old fat grandma is sick, who do you take her to? You take her to your Indian doctor. You want to take all these things from Indian people, but you don't want to give the respect to the Indians that brought it here to you. And that's where I want to go with it, because that's reality, that's truth, and that's the truth people don't want to swallow. And when you say it like a jerk, it makes you the bad guy, but the bad guy that's right. You know what I mean? Like Thanos from, if you ever watch Endgame, he has a truth. He's like, yeah, the world's oversaturated. Things are like this, things are like that. He just goes about it the wrong way, but there's a truth in his message. And that's what I want to do. And I'm hoping that's what I can turn into, because it is. No one wants to hear that. But yeah, anytime you go to the ring, it's always something stupid from somebody stupid. And I've dealt with it my whole life. I've learned to shut it out, and just whatever. But I would like to use that as ammo and fuel and put that back. You know what I mean? But that also can be a touchy subject, and it's where there's a line there, and
Right.
it's where you cross it. But for me, no one else is doing that. Let me drive up to that line and take that heat for it. I'll do it because I want to give that back to those type of people.
I guess it's especially hard now too with cancel culture, right? So you don't want to cross that line, even if you put a toe over that line. I mean, there's a chance of you, I guess, being canceled, or people are outraged, and the whole deal. I'm sure you deal with it on a day-to-day basis.
Man, I hate Twitter. I honestly, social media and just society in general, some things are warranted to be upset about. Some things I totally agree with. Some things should be like, oh my gosh, why do these people say that? That's wrong. Get them out of here. Some things people have this false outrage. They get offended over everything, even if they don't even watch the product or support the product. I don't even mean wrestling. I mean like a movie or a sports team or whatever. They just want to complain about it. And they want to jump on the bandwagon and carry their pitchforks and torches and try to ruin someone's career or slander somebody's name over something that may have been said. You know what I mean? Nowadays, you're guilty before proven innocent, especially on social media. I can't stand the way society is nowadays. I do think there is a point where a lot of things should not be said. You know what I mean? But I'm sure somebody would they would try to take some offense to it. But I would shut it down in an instant, because that's just how I am. I'm very combative when it comes to stuff like that. I have to stay off social media because I hate politics, man. And I have to bite my tongue, because I will literally get in the conversation and just call out people for their stupidity. And it literally gives me a headache watching and listening to some of the stuff what people say or I read. And it's just like, how can you be that self-centered or ignorant? Like, man, yeah, it hurts. So for me, it's probably a bad thing, because I would try to challenge that stuff and get myself in trouble as always. But yeah, some of it's warranted. A lot of it's just this false outrage that people just want to be upset to be upset sometimes,
So, dude, thank you so much for giving me your time. But before you go, I'd ask you one thing. When me and George Barbosa from Fight Network were shooting Diary in Windsor on Rhino, you and him were having a conversation back and forth. I don't know if you remember, but you cut a promo. You cut a Dusty Rhodes promo with the Dusty Rhodes impression. Can you give me a little Dusty Rhodes before we go?
Well, let me talk about it real quick, if you will. The American Dream, Dusty Rhodes is here. We was talking to the man beats the Rhino, Dusty. I known him a long time. Yeah, that man. He was in ECW, and he tried to hit me with that goal with Steve Corino, but I caught him. I caught him with that bow, Daddy. American Dream, Dusty Rhodes don't play, but we good now, Daddy. Yeah. Well, I was doing a little savage there for you too. I wanted, when we were gonna do the TNA thing down in Florida before this whole virus, I was telling them, why don't you let me come down and be the brown machismo? Yeah, I think everybody would dig it. I would dig it. You would dig it. The whole world would dig it. I was thinking about it. Yeah.
Yes, dude. That is awesome, man. Thank you so much.
Hell yeah, man. You take it easy, and I appreciate it, man. Stay safe.
Thank you. Take care, brother.
Later, bro.